Welcome to D&D News at 9. This just in, a local NPC was murdered walking home from a local tavern. Now let's go to our man on the scene, Rumble Runescribe. Rumble?
Thank you, Airlift. Yes, we're here on what usually is an everyday peaceful side street, now turned crime scene. And I've received word that the players have arrived on the scene and began their investigation just moments ago. Oh, okay, it seems now we're getting an update. The players seem to be unable to identify the NPCs, as it seems no one wrote his name down. Let's see now if we can't grab a statement. Sir, could you tell us a little bit about the NPC that was murdered? Forgettable. Well, and there you have it, Aerolith. It seems the NPC did not make an impact on these players, leaving him to rot in the DM's notes archives forever. Back to you, Aerolith.
You hate to see it, folks. Another NPC lost and forgotten. But stick around and don't go anywhere, because after the commercial break, we have an exclusive interview with a man who says he has concrete proof that there's more than meets the eye beneath Waterdeep City. All that and more coming up next on D&D News. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. This is Above the Table, where we like to talk about how to better run our games. My name's Steven, and if you're here, you might be wondering, what are some easy and effective ways to portray and roleplay NPCs in your games? Now, this is a crucial aspect of being a dungeon master, but that does not mean that it has to be a hard one. NPCs, or non-player characters, are the heart of our worlds. They're the townsfolk, the quest givers, the mentors, the complicated family members, and the rivals and allies to your players. But how do you make them memorable and engaging? First off, I just want to get something out of the way. The points in this video are suggestions, not requirements. Never let anyone tell you that you have to do a certain thing or there is a right way to play the game. As long as everything's agreed at your table between you and your players and no one's being harmed, enjoy your games as you see fit. I'm just some guy with a camera sharing things I've learned through experiences and the wild ideas that come across my ADHD-addled brain. With all that in mind, there seems to be a common misconception that roleplay equals doing character voices. While you can use character voices in your roleplay toolkit, this is only one small optional aspect of roleplaying as a whole. In today's video, we're going to cover the different aspects of roleplay and what we can do or prepare to enhance our roleplay as our NPCs. So what really is roleplaying? The definition of roleplaying is to act out or perform the part of a person or character. And just as wording is important in the rules that govern our games, so is it too here. Sometimes it can be all too easy for people to get stuck on that first word, to act. But the more important part of any participant's role in a tabletop game is to perform. And what does it mean to perform? To carry out, accomplish, or fulfill an action, task, or function. Our task at the table? To make decisions as our characters. For us DMs, to make decisions as our NPCs. To make choices and take actions that are informed by the information of the NPC and not ourselves. Now, how do we set ourselves up to make these informed decisions as these NPCs? A lot of that lies within their creation. First, we have to identify what kinds of NPCs we're going to need in our games and what we need to flesh them out. The key points that I consider when thinking about an NPC and what I'm going to do to portray them are their goals, their personality, their appearance, and their voice or presentation. As for the types of NPCs you have planned NPCs. This covers everything from your local shopkeeper to your big bad. They encompass both allies and enemies. These are the NPCs that our players will interact with through roleplay, combat, trade, conversation, or observation. These are the people we often care the most about as dungeon masters, as we spend the time carefully discovering them or crafting them before play. And you also have improvised NPCs, the ones we didn't know were needed. These are the NPCs whose
presence wasn't accounted for, or who were created on the spot as our players find an unforeseen need for an item, shelter, or information. These NPCs can become just as or more important than our prepared NPCs. It's unpredictable who our players will latch onto or develop disdain for, so it's important to have a process in place to create these characters quickly and effectively. There's even a way to combine these two NPC types, but we'll go over that in just a bit. First, let's cover planned NPCs. First up, let's talk about goals. Every NPC should have a goal, a dream, an aspiration, even if it's a small one. Goals give your NPCs direction and make them feel like they're living, breathing parts of your world. These goals can be anything from a shopkeeper wanting to expand their business or disrupt a competitor, or even a knight on a quest for redemption. Sometimes NPCs may even have unattainable aspirations or near impossible goals. Sometimes you might even have to introduce NPCs by helping the players first, creating a feeling of needing to return the favor, creating a space for the players to naturally discover some of the goals. The key is to tie the NPCs' goals to the story, the players, or the path before them in a way that creates potential conflict or collaboration with our players. For example, your players enter a bustling city and seek out a well-known merchant who is rumored to have connections to a powerful criminal syndicate. The merchant, however, has a goal. He is determined to expand his influence by securing exclusive trading rights to a rare spice found in a distant region. Now the merchant could provide the players with the information they need about the syndicate, perhaps even introduce them to key figures, but only if they agree to help him secure these spice rights. This might involve negotiating with local tribes, eliminating a rival merchant, or even escorting his caravan through treacherous terrain. In this scenario, the merchant's goal isn't just a background detail. It's a driving force that can lead an entirely new quest, deepening the player's connection to the world and this NPC, creating potential allies or enemies based on their choices. Now let's say the players seek out a reclusive scholar known for his expertise in ancient languages. They hope to have him translate an old map that could lead them to a hidden treasure or knowledge that is important to your campaign story. The scholar, however, has a goal. He's obsessed with deciphering a set of cryptic tablets that are believed to hold the secrets to an ancient civilization. The scholar agrees to help with the map, but only if the players bring him the final tablet, rumored to be buried deep within a forgotten temple guarded by undead warriors. This task not only aligns with the player's current objective, but it also expands the scope of their adventure moving forward, leading them to new locations, as well as potential to find new lore and various challenges. In this case, the NPC's goal is intricately tied to the broader narrative, enriching the story, and providing a clear incentive for the players to engage with this NPC in particular, making them important to the characters and their story. You can even use simpler or mundane goals from one NPC to help guide your players to a location to interact with others, finding more goals and rumors. For example, a local shopkeeper realizes that they've misplaced the key to their storeroom and desperately needs it to fill an important order. The shopkeeper's goal is to find the key, which they believe to have dropped it somewhere in the market after making a recent bank deposit. The players could be in the market themselves when they are asked to find this key, or they could even be sent there. This task might involve questioning locals, searching under stalls, dealing with a group of mischievous street urchins who picked it up. The goal is simple, but it encourages the players to interact with the environment around them and leaves the possibilities for either the most simple interactions or an expansive adventure. Goals for NPCs both serve as a trait to make them seem more real and serve as potential stepping stones towards adventures or encounters. And we use these goals to establish connections between them and other NPCs, the players, or the world itself. Remember, though, keep this in mind when creating NPC goals, because you never know what side quest might arrive as the players find an NPC's goal way more interesting or beneficial than you had previously determined. Next is developing personality. A well-crafted personality is what will make your NPCs stand out even more. Think about what drives them. Now that we have their goals, ask yourself what from their backstory would influence how they are. Are they ambitious, shy, proud, or cunning? You don't need to go overboard with details, but having a few key traits in mind will help you portray them consistently. I've even found it helpful to put a simple few bullet points or traits next to or below a name in my notes. Now let's look at some examples of how a portrayed personality might inform our players of how they might interact with this NPC moving forward. A grizzled old fisherman who is deeply superstitious. He carries charms and amulets for good luck. He refuses to sail on certain days and tells the players all sorts of strange tales about the sea. He's quick to warn them about omens and bad luck, often attributing any mishap to a curse or some form of vengeful spirit. This fisherman might be a bit of a doomsayer, but he's also very knowledgeable about the sea, and he can offer valuable advice, direction, or information if the players can sift through his superstition and see his value. A former soldier, maybe an old friend, who has seen too much war and now struggles with the disillusion and bitterness. They speak in a rough, weary tone that often has a hint of sarcasm or cynicism. This NPC might be able to provide valuable combat experience or insights. They might even be capable of training one of our players, but their jaded outlook makes them skeptical of idealism and reluctant to trust others. However, deep down, they still hold on to a shred of hope that the world can be better, and this might surface in moments of vulnerability, showing the players that not only not all is lost, but the champion underneath may still be reachable. Potentially, the players might uncover a goal of this soldier, or even find a secret that, when revealed to them, creates a goal. And clearing that goal may be the one path to redemption. Now, not all NPC personalities need to be tied to some quest. That is just some examples of how we might tie in an NPC's goals or experiences with their personality and what that might give the players. You can also simply use things like their occupation, where they live, current events, or even random generators or tables to determine these characteristics. There's a litany of different character combinations and personality types, and I encourage you to explore them all as you craft NPCs for your world. Now let's consider appearance. A brief description of how an NPC looks can go a long way in helping your players visualize them. Focus on one or two standout features rather than trying to describe every detail. Maybe it's a deep scar across the mercenary's face, a vibrant red cloak worn by a traveler, or the constant smudge of soot on a blacksmith's hands. Even things like missing limbs, creative hairstyles, weapons, or equipment that they carry. These small details help paint a picture in your players' minds and can even hint at the NPC's backstory or personality. For instance, that scar might suggest a history of battles, while the cloak could signify allegiance to a certain order or region. And you can always go the simple route of finding an image that represents an NPC to simply show your players, although that may not automatically remove the need for a spoken description. Next up are character voices. As mentioned earlier, voices are just one part of role-playing, but they can add to your NPCs if you choose to do so. And we can think of their voice in two different ways of presentation, either their actual voice or even their body language. For me, it honestly depends on the day. Some sessions, on a good day, I might have a wide variety of character voice preparations as I dive out of my comfort zone, filled with blind confidence, and I give it my all. While on a bad day, I may only go so far as to describe what a character says from a third-person perspective all session long. I may even just describe how their voice sounds. The way you vocally present your NPCs should be allowed to be fluid and ever-changing, just as is the rest of the game that we're playing. We're not running a production here, we're playing a game with some good friends. That being said, should you be thinking you'd like to do more character voices, keep in mind, you don't have to be a master impressionist or a professional actor. Just a slight change in pitch, the tone, or an accent can make a huge difference when paired with a unique personality. For example, a wizened old mage might have a slow or deliberate way of speaking, while a young street urchin might speak quickly with a rough and unrefined tone. The key to this is consistency. You've thought of a voice for an NPC, now take time to practice it and solidify it. I've often found myself driving down the road, monologuing to thin air. Finally, let's talk about body language and demeanor. You can use your own body language to convey how an NPC is feeling, either by slouching in your chair to represent a tired or defeated character, or leaning forward to portray someone eager or intense. You can even just describe an NPC's demeanor. When describing an NPC's body language to your players, be mindful of how their physical actions reflect their personality and their mood. Maybe the nervous innkeeper wrings his hands and avoids eye contact, while the confident warlord stands tall with his arms crossed and a steely gaze. These physical cues add another layer of immersion and help your players pick up on the subtle social cues, making interactions with NPCs more dynamic. Now for improvised NPCs. With improvised NPCs, our toolkit is limited. Sometimes we just pull things out of our head, but there are ways we can aid ourselves in making the appearance of these characters smoother. If you have a computer on hand, you can lean into sites like npcgenerator.com, Kassoon.com, or even RPG Tinker. There are even some apps available on most mobile devices. We can also lean on things like random tables or lists of names, goals, personality traits that we prepare beforehand but have available behind the DM screen. Whenever using a random source like this, my best tip is when you get a result and you roll on it, lean into it. Sure, re-roll something if it makes absolutely no sense, but if you can make it work, sometimes the unexpected can yield the most interesting result. Whatever you use in the moment, whether it be a table or a generator, keep in mind your current location, your events, what happens in the story right now, and why do we suddenly need this NPC? Don't be afraid to let NPCs that are needed for only simple interactions be simple. Sure, everyone has a story, everyone has drives and desires, but we gotta remember to keep the process easier on ourselves. We want to focus on what the players will actually interact with. If the party suddenly decides to head to the potion shop before leaving town on a quest, there's no need to fully flesh out the story for the potions vendor in the moment where the party just wants to buy 2 potions from them and leave. Be careful not to derail your own story by feeling the need to have side quests everywhere. If you decide to improv an NPC that does have need of the players, try to see how it might fit into the journey along the way or be tied to the current destination or target of their current objective. Now, what about combining the 2 aspects? A prepared improvisational NPC? What does that even mean? Well, something that I have found beneficial when running my games is having a prepared list of secrets, rumors, goals, locations, and characters that I have prepared from the get-go to set up to be more modular. These things are interchangeable and free-form. They're able to be placed wherever they make sense, and sometimes they may even take the place of a planned NPC or interaction because of a change introduced in a session by the players. Nothing is set in stone until it happens at the table. Don't be so afraid to shuffle around the actors behind the curtain to fit the ever-changing needs that we have at the table as Dungeon Masters. Now, I have to give a shout out while we're here to a book series that I really enjoy, and that would be Jeff Ashworth's Game Master Book of series. Particularly pertaining to this video would be this book right here, the Game Master's Book of Non-Player Characters. Now, I will do a deep dive on this book at some point, but to cover an outline, this book is chock full. It has a collection of personalities to bring to the table, complete with names, descriptions, common phrases, and backstories. With needs and desires, it even goes so far as to have a short description of what the NPC has on them, should your players choose to relieve them of it. Third-party books like this are great places to turn when we are dry for inspiration, or we just want to bring more of others' ideas into our games. I must add, this video is not sponsored in any way. I just really enjoy this book series and think that anyone looking for more content for their games can find something fun or useful within the many tomes that they have now put out. And well, friends, that just about wraps up today's video. Hopefully you can walk away with a few tools or ideas that you might implement into your games to better help roleplay your NPCs. If so, hit that like button as it helps the channel out a ton. And if you have any favorite unique tips or tricks that you like to use when roleplaying your NPCs that I didn't cover, please leave a comment down below. I'm always looking to expand my DM toolkit, and as always, I love hearing others' ideas. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button, because rumor around the tavern is over 70% of you aren't subscribed. So click that button and make your sacrifice to the elder god known as the algorithm. And join in and follow along for more as we continue to learn how to better run our games. Thanks guys, and we'll see you on the next one.